everyone. So today I am doing another product review slash first impressions. This is the Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolor palette. This palette was also a gift from my best friend, and I am so excited to finally use it. I have been waiting to use it for a while, and this was the perfect time. And here I am showing off my watercolor brush. This is a Da Vinci size 6 round brush. So these have been pretty popular, and I'd be kind of surprised if you haven't heard of them. But if not, these are a Japanese watercolor palette. So when you look at the bottom of the pans, they're not going to be in English. But what's really nice about this palette is that they have a number attached to the actual palette. And if you look on the back of the box, you'll see the number and there is an English name for each color. So it helps if you can't read Japanese. So the wells are pretty big, and this is my Dowler & Rowney watercolor, my travel kit, and this is like a standard half pan, and this is a full pan. But you'll also notice that the paint is very, like, pretty much to the top on the Dowler & Rowney, and on the Kuretake it is like halfway. So to me, you're probably gonna get about the same amount of paint. You just get a wider surface to collect the paint. So I was going to do the sample swatches on the back of the box. Even though I knew this wasn't watercolor paper, I was just going to give it a try. And then after doing a couple of these, which I honestly don't know why I did it this way, where it was like skipping each one. But after doing a couple of these, I realized, I need watercolor paper. So what I was going to do was take a piece of paper and do the swatches and then tape that or glue it to the back of the box. So here I am doing the swatches, and this time I actually did have to do every other one so that they wouldn't bleed into each other. But I wasn't very happy with how I did the swatches. And at first I was thinking maybe I just wasn't using the paint correctly. And honestly, I kind of wasn't. These are a little different than like Western watercolors, especially from the research I did conveniently after I did this video. And I definitely plan on redoing this for myself because I don't want to put this one on the back of the box. I want to have like a nice actual one. So I wanted to talk more about the differences between this palette and a typical Western palette. And before I do, I want to give a thanks to Pink Spark Studio and Doodle Wash because they had a lot of information about this palette that really helped me learn how to properly use it. Now, I mentioned before and showed you that the pans are much larger than a typical half pan, and this is to accommodate a traditional Japanese watercolor brush. So I actually do have a few of these brushes, and for some reason didn't think to use them in this video. But basically, to sum it up, Japanese watercolor brushes are a lot more flexible, and the bigger pans give it more room to flow so that it can pick up color. And a Western brush, like the one that I'm using now, the Da Vinci, the bristles, basically they want to keep their shape as much as possible. So a smaller pan works fine for those. Although I will say I did like the larger pans. I liked being able to swish it around more. So I really loved the colors in this palette. I found that they were very vibrant, and the ones at the very bottom are metallic colors and they just look beautiful. They are made to be very pigmented and on the thicker and creamier side compared to Western watercolors. Now, I do believe this is because of the animal hide glue that is in these colors. I'm not 100% sure if they use that ingredient in every single color, but I do know that they use it in the palette. I loved the quality of these paints. I thought they were amazing, and you can really tell whenever you're using these that these are a quality paint. Now here I did a test to see how they look over top of pen, because typically whenever I'm doing watercolor, I'll put the pen down first and then put the color. But for some sets, they'll be chalky and they'll hide the pen. The only colors I saw do that were the metallics, which honestly I kind of expected that because they are different than the, typical colors. But as for the top two, they didn't hide any of the pen. They didn't dull it, like you might see in some other sets, especially more lower quality sets. So now it's time to move on to the actual painting portion. So I am trying a whole bunch of different cameras and camera techniques. So the colors are slightly off, and I know you guys could probably tell, especially when there was a big color shift early in the video, and I do apologize for that. However, what you're seeing on screen is pretty close to what you'll see in person. The only color that I felt was off is the color that coincidentally I'm using for the bunny here. So this is a mint green. It is a very mint green color, but for some reason no camera was picking up the way that I'm seeing it in person, and it was just coming off more blue. So I was trying to mess with the settings as best I could to show you that mint color, and this was the best I could get it. But just know, in person, it is definitely more of a like mint chocolate chip ice cream type green. And that's kind of why I chose it, because this is a mint chocolate chip bunny. So the theme for this painting was cute animals and ice cream. And I sketched it out and I fell in love with the idea. I just thought it was so cute. So we have a mint chocolate chip bunny, a chocolate ice cream puppy, and a strawberry ice cream kitty. And in each one, I incorporated the other two with the ice creams on the sides. And I decided to do it so it's like when you're looking at it, like for the bunny, for example, you'll see that on the left of the bunny is the strawberry ice cream, and on the right is the chocolate ice cream, and that's because to the right of the bunny is the chocolate puppy. I just thought it looked more aesthetically pleasing that way, and I eventually want to do prints of this. I actually recreated this digitally because I will explain in the end why I wasn't extremely happy with the end results here, but I redid it digitally, and I really liked how that looked. In fact, I even made stickers of it, and I will be selling those stickers on at my Etsy, so store link in the bottom if you want to see those. But eventually I do want to do prints of this as well if people are interested. I know my prints don't really sell very well, so I'm kind of hesitant to make more right now. But I do think I want to make these as acrylic charms, and maybe I want to try and recreate them with polymer clay. They have a lot of little details, so we'll see about that one. So the reason why I wasn't particularly happy with the end result wasn't because of the watercolors. I think these watercolors are amazing. The end result, I'm a picky person, and I typically do digital art anymore. And that's why I'm doing these first time reviews, because I really want to get back into traditional. But again, I'm a picky person with my own stuff. So if it's not 100% perfect, I'll probably be mad at myself. And this was one of those times where it was just one teeny tiny thing was off and I wasn't happy with it. But I will say these watercolors were wonderful to work with. I just needed to learn how to work with them. Since this painting, I have used them more, and I am loving the results that I'm getting with these. It is just a wonderful paint palette to work with, and I really recommend it. I have recommended my Daler-Rowney paint palette in the past, and I still think that is a good palette to use, especially if you want more of a travel palette. But this set I think is wonderful for beginners. It has plenty of colors, and just the fact that it has like these larger wells to work with, I personally really enjoyed that. I will say the biggest downside to this palette for me was the size. Earlier, if you couldn't tell, I had a really hard time getting this palette into frame, and it was just so overwhelmingly large. Now, if you wanted to travel, that'd be hard with this set. However, I have seen that apparently now they have a travel set. If it has been around for a while, it's new to me. I had no idea. But if you want this palette as a smaller set and more travel friendly, I would look into getting the travel set. I haven't tried it yet personally, but I couldn't imagine it's any different than this other than having less colors. And it will definitely have smaller wells as it's meant to be a travel set. So just keep that in mind as well if you are liking the idea of having the large wells to work with. So a little back to the painting. Something else that I'm sure you noticed is that I tried to give each animal something a little special, a little different that the other one didn't get. So for the kitty, I gave her a little strawberry topping, and all of them I gave them icing. And in the digital version, I did change this up a little bit, but for this version, I gave the puppy icing with rainbow sprinkles, and the mint chocolate chip bunny I just gave icing because the other two don't have like strawberry bits or chocolate bits. So the bunny has chocolate bits because it's, mint chocolate chip ice cream. So that was kind of the difference for that one. So if you remember earlier, I said that these colors are thicker, and this is the part of the painting that I wasn't super happy about. So if you remember earlier, I said that these colors are thicker, and you can definitely see it with this color here. All the other colors I diluted a lot and then just built up the colors with layering. But for this, because I wanted it to be so dark, because I was going for a dipped cone look, I just thought, let's just go in with the full color, not diluted at all. And right now, I thought it looked fine. Maybe could have went a little lighter, but overall looked fine. The problem came when it dried. So when it dried, the other colors came out more like you would see with your typical watercolor, very matte looking. However, with these, with the icing, it had a more sheen to it, is the best way I can describe it. There was like just a slight sheen on there. And that's the way the watercolor is typically supposed to dry. And if I had done my research beforehand, I would have known that, but I didn't. So that's on me, and nothing I can do about that now. I don't think it looks terrible. I just would have done it differently had I known that this was going to dry that way. So after adding a few more layers, I added these stripes on the cone just to make it actually look like a waffle cone. And this was also something that I probably would have redone, and I think I made it a little better in the digital version. I didn't actually sketch out how I was going to do the cone part. I just kind of, like usual, winged it. And I don't think it looks bad. It's just it doesn't have the right dimension in my eyes. But overall, this is the finished piece. I realized I didn't use any of the metallics this time, but I will definitely continue to use this palette and will use the metallics in the future. And here you can see how that sheen looks with the dipped cone. Just wasn't really what I was going for, but I do think this painting looks super cute. I love the concept of it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!